Hey everyone, this is Adam from Figmatic, and today I'm going to be showing you how to level up your Figma comments by organizing them and being able to filter them, add to-do items, add tags, a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be doing this using a brand new plugin called Commentful. So let's get started by going to the Figma community and searching for the term Commentful. So that's Commentful, and under the plugins tab you'll see Commentful pop up. Just go ahead and click on the install button on the right hand side, and then you can switch back into your Figma file. So you can see here I've already got a few Figma comments in here, just native Figma comments, nothing too crazy, but we're basically going to organize these in a way that's a bit easier to look through rather than just using the native Figma comments panel, which can be a bit tricky if you've got a bunch of comments and you're trying to keep track of them. So to get started, we're just going to right click anywhere, go down to plugins, click on Commentful, and that's just going to load up the plugin we just installed a moment ago. So the first time you run the plugin, you'll just need to connect it to your Figma file. So you can do that by clicking connect this Figma file, and it's going to give you some steps just to get your Figma API token. So if you go to your settings page in your Figma profile and go down to personal access tokens, just name it Commentful or something like that, and hit enter, and you'll receive a token that you can copy, and you want to go ahead and paste that in this input field here. So I've already got one saved in here, so I'm just going to use that one and click save token. And then what you want to do is grab your current Figma page, your Figma file, click on the share button in the toolbar, click on copy link, and you can close that off, and then just go ahead and paste that Figma file link into the input here and click on save URL. So this is now going to connect the plugin to your Figma file and sync up all of your comments into the plugin so we can actually see them and start organizing them. So by default, all the comments that you've got already in your file or any new comments that you add to the file will get automatically put into the backlog. So these are all comments that haven't been assigned a different category yet, and they're basically just where all of the new comments go. So to create a category, we just go over to the right hand side here, click on any of these status icons, click on a color, and then give it a label. So I'm going to call this one completed. Then I'm going to click on add new custom status, and you can see here it's added a brand new column to our board here. So what we can do is we can actually filter these by resolved status. So I'm just going to click on the filters button and go down to show resolved and unresolved Figma comments. And then in here, if I go to my comment and resolve that in Figma, so I'll resolve a couple of those ones, and we can actually jump to these comments easily just by clicking on these pins here. So if I click on any of the pins, it'll automatically jump to that comment on the page. So I'm just going to mark a couple of these as resolved. And it's worth noting that the plugin refreshes your comments about every 20 seconds. So you notice that it took a little bit to update the statuses here, but every 20 seconds or so it'll refresh these based on any comments or updates that have been made in your Figma file using the native comments feature. So now we can see here we've got our 2 resolved comments that we just added. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these into our new category. So I'm just going to click on both of those, go down to here in the footer, click on the completed category, and then click the move button. So you can see here we've just moved those 2 comments into our completed category. So those are kind of out of the way now, and you don't have to worry about those. We know where they're at status-wise, and we can go ahead and create more statuses for more use cases as well. So I'm going to create one called in progress, create a new custom status, and we've just added in progress. I do want this to be in the middle, so I don't want it to be at the end. So I'm going to click and drag that title and just drop that over to the left here. So now we've got our column in the middle. So we can actually start moving these into that category now. And now those are more organized as well. So these are 2 that I've got in progress. We can edit these labels as well. So if I wanted to call this doing, I just change the label and update that. And that's been saved there. We can also jump into any of these cards. So these are just comment threads from Figma. I can click on those, get a really nice overview of when it was created, what frame it's attached to, how many comments exist, and things like that. But the cool thing is I can also give these custom titles. So for example, this one's telling me that the social stats are outdated. So I might call this one social stats updates. And that's just going to get pulled through into our cards here. So that gives me a way to give it a custom title without just relying on the comment itself. So that's a nice way of keeping the titles organized as well. The other cool thing we can do is set a due date. So if I know this needs to be done by the middle of the week, I can set a due date for Wednesday, and that's going to tell me that it's now due in 3 days. And in our overview, I can also get a really clear sense that this card needs to be done in 3 days. I can set that, so if that was already set to last week, it'll tell me that it was due 5 days ago. And again, you get a really clear indication this comment needs to be taken care of and put to the completed column. So that's what that looks like there. The other neat thing that we can do is actually tag these comments as well. So for example, this one's telling us the comment is that we need the thumbnails to be bigger, so that's probably a design task. So I'm going to tag that as design, and I'm going to tag this one also as design. And you can see here now it's got these tags in our cards that we can actually see at an overview level. But the other cool thing is we can actually now filter by those tags too. So if we decide we only want to see Figma threads that are tagged as design, we just jump back into our Figma filters, jump into the filter threads by tags input. And if you just start typing the tag, it'll auto-complete it. So we can select design. And now if we close that off, you can see here that those other threads have disappeared, and we're only seeing any comments that have been tagged with the tag design. So I'm just going to clear those again. We can do the exact same thing with users. So if you want to filter by user, you can do that. So if I type in one of the usernames, it's going to auto-complete. So I'll just click on that one. And this is only going to show me threads that were created by Figmatic. I can also show resolved and unresolved, so we get a few more results in there. So you can see these ones have been created by Figmatic. I can change that to Adam, so I can see all of Adam's comments, and you can see those are in there as well. So we can clear those just by clicking on that. But that's a really nice way of actually seeing which tags are attached to which comment, and you can just narrow that down really quickly. The other neat thing you can do is filter by date. So if you know that you only want to see comments that have been added today or yesterday or in the last week, you just click on one of these presets and that'll automatically select today. So these comments were all created today, but we could also say we want to do the last 7 days, or we want to just do yesterday, or you can just pick your own date range. So you can just jump through these. If you want to see everything from January, just jump to there and select all of Jan, and that would show you everything that's been in January. I don't have any in January, so you can see here it's just showing nothing. So I'll just clear that. The other cool thing we can do is filter by comment location. So if you've got a bunch of comments in your file and you only want to see comments on a certain frame or a certain place, so for example on the notification frame here, I can see that we've got one comment on there. So I'm just going to unselect all of the other locations and only show any comments that are attached to the notification frame here. So I'm going to close off my filters, and you can see here it's just showing this one comment which is attached to the notification frame on page 1. So that's what that looks like there. So that gives you a bit of an overview of what the filtering system looks like. The other neat thing that we can do is automatically search all of our comments instantly. So if I start typing a keyword, you can see here it's going to pre-fill those results and show me where the highlight is in the keyword. So this is just a really quick way of searching all of your Figma comments for a specific keyword instantly, and you don't have to kind of filter around. If you know that you've got a keyword you want to look for, you can just do that, and then all you need to do is click on one of these results or use the keyboard, and that'll jump you straight to the comment and open up the thread overview as well. So that's a really quick way of finding comments if you know what you want to look for in the actual message content or in the title field here. We can also reply to comments. So you can see here it's just loaded up this comment here. So that's on Figma thread number 1. And I've decided I want to reply to that comment. So I'm just going to have a quick look at what that actually looks like. So if I find my number 1 comment, which I think is actually resolved, So that one's already been resolved. So let's leave a comment on number 2. So we've got our number 2 comment here. I'm just going to open up the card, and this is talking about notification thumbnails. So just say, no worries, I'll update this straight away. And the cool thing is we can actually use formatting to make these comments a little bit more clear and concise. So I can add bold, italic, strike-throughs, ordered lists, unordered lists. So I could write a list of file names or something just by clicking on that unordered list. And then I could say, image JPEG, image2.jpg, and just add a little label. I'm uploading to... Okay, so that's what that looks like. And you can also add emojis, of course, so we can just drop in a emoji and links as well. So we can actually insert links if we wanted to do that. So we could add a link to uploading and put that as, figma.com or something like that. And that's what it looks like in the preview here. So if we want to reply to that thread, just hit reply to the Figma thread button. That's going to post the reply and refresh our comments. And you can see there it is, right in our thread that we already had open. And the neat thing is, if we actually go to Figma now and jump to that comment, you can see here we've got one reply, and there we go. That's the reply that we just added through the plugin, and it's posting it to Figma because we're connected to Figma using the API. All of the comments that you leave through the plugin will automatically get fed into Figma as well. So even if you're not using the Commentful plugin, that content is still available to anyone looking at the native Figma comments as well. The only difference is in here, we've got the markdown formatting. It's kind of raw text, so it's still readable, it's still meaningful. But when you do read that in the Commentful plugin, that's when you're really going to get the benefit of having the actual formatted lists, having the actual formatted markdown and things like that. So that's what that looks like. The other cool thing we can do is create to-do lists. So we can create to-do lists in 2 different ways. We can either assign to-dos to a certain comment. So in this case, I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, jump to my to-dos tab, and I'm just going to insert a to-do here. So I'm going to say, upload image.jpg from Dropbox or something like that. And I'm just going to click add to do. And you can see here it's added a to-do to our items. I can add another one. So I'll say upload second image from Dropbox. Add that as a to-do as well. And then we can actually start checking these off. So we can check those off and see what the completed checklist looks like. We can also hide those. But the neat thing is we can actually see an overview of that from our cards as well. So we can see here that we've got 50% to-dos completed on this specific card. But even more useful is jumping to our My To-Dos tab. So up in the header here, if you click on the My To-Dos tab, and then go to the selector up here, and we're going to change this from private to-dos to assigned to-dos. So basically what this tab allows you to do is see an overview of every to-do item that's been assigned to you on different Figma comments. So we can see, for example, the ones we just added to this thread here, those 2 we just added in, those have automatically fed through to our personal to-do list. And so if someone else has assigned these to us, or if we assign them to ourselves through the Figma comments, we get that all in the one place, and we don't have to kind of go looking around for what we're meant to be working on. It's all in a single place where you can just go through and check these off. So I can just go ahead and check those off like any normal to-do list, and I can hide the completed lists if I don't want to see them anymore. And I can also leave them unhidden or just hide the to-do items as well. The other cool thing is I don't need to go back to the thread every time. If I know I want to add another item here, I can just do that. So I can say another to-do here and add that to-do as well. And that's automatically going to add it to our own list, but also add it back to the to-dos list on the comment. So everyone's going to be able to see that at the same time, and you don't have to kind of go digging around for those comments there. The other way we can add to-dos is by going back to the private to-dos. So if we just change this filter up here to say private to-dos, what we can do is create our own private to-do lists. So if I say, my design tasks and create that as a new list, this is going to add a list that only we can see. No one else can see this list. This is just for us, just looking at this page. So we can create a my design tasks list and start adding our own to-dos. So we can say, update the assets and add that as a to-do. We can say do a copy review before sending out, add that as a to-do. So this really becomes your own private to-do list. And if you have multiple categories of lists, you can just create new lists as well. So we can say, design review feedback, add that as a new list. And now you can add new items under that list as well. So you can say, fix typos in text layers and anything like that. You can just add your own to-dos in there, and that'll just give you your own private to-do list that sits separate from any other to-dos that are kind of shared on those Figma comment threads. So that's what that looks like there. So as I said, you can see these on the actual cards just to get a really clear overview of what's been completed, what hasn't. You'll be able to see those get completed, and that's just an easy trigger to say, okay, this is probably finished, so we can move that to a different category that resolves the thread. So these are multiple ways of keeping track of tasks, keeping track of comments, organizing them by statuses, tags, users, adding to-dos, all those sorts of neat things. So you're really supercharging your comments, native Figma comments abilities to organize them in a much more straightforward way that you can do normally. So that's basically what it looks like. That's all the filtering, that's all the searching. You've also got an alerts panel. So if you click on this little alerts icon, that's basically just going to show you a stream of all of the comments in this file in reverse chronological order. So everything that's at the top is the newest. So if you open that up and you just want to see a really quick overview of what's been happening in the file, in the comments, you just click on that little icon and you'll get an instant readout of all of the comments that have been left and actioned, and you can jump into those really easily. So that can be really handy too. The other cool thing you can do if you want is export these comments. So let's say you've got all these comments and someone else wants to have a look at them, or you need to send them to a stakeholder, or you just want to export them for your own purpose. You can do that in one click just by clicking on the export comments button. So if you click on that, that's now exported the comments. So I'm just going to click save. That's going to save it to my desktop. And if I now open that with my spreadsheet app, so in this case, I'm just going to use the Numbers app that comes with the Mac. And if I open up that one, this is going to open up the CSV file. So this gets saved out as a CSV, just a standard CSV spreadsheet. And we can see here that all of our comments from our Figma file have been exported into a nice looking CSV file. So this includes pretty much everything you'd want to know. So you've got your pin number, so that's where the number of the pin, what page it's on, what frame it's attached to, who posted the comment, what the comment message was, and then you've also got your custom statuses. So these are the statuses that we added through the plugin. So we've got our doing status, our completed status. That's what comes up there. We've also got tags. So if we've added any tags to a comment, we can see those in here as well. If we've set a due date, that'll pop up in there. Created at, resolved at. So that's if it's been resolved in Figma, you can get that date in there. And then also we've got our link, which is basically a direct link to the Figma comment pin itself. So if you click on that, that would open up your browser. And if you've got permission to look at the file, that would just jump you straight to the Figma pin and the location of the comment as well. So that can be handy as well if you're kind of fumbling around in the dark in the spreadsheet and you want to know where the actual comment was on the file. You can just click on that and jump straight to it. Okay, so that's basically a good overview of what this plugin can do. And yeah, I think if you're interested in filtering your comments in a better way, searching through your comments in a better way, or just having a way more organized workflow to be able to track your Figma comments and where they're at and who's meant to be doing what and what you're meant to be doing, then I think Commentful is a really nice way of doing that in a way that really augments the native Figma comments and, you know, keeps them super useful, but just basically augments them with all this extra detail and extra ways of filtering things down. And I think that's really neat for especially with bigger teams where you've got a lot of different comments that you need to filter through and sort through. This basically allows you to turn your native Figma comments into essentially a Trello style board. That's just way easier to keep track of visually and keep everyone on the same page. The one last thing I'll say is if you do need to duplicate your Figma file, it will automatically save your Figma ID that you set originally to the Figma file in the plugin. So if you duplicate it, you'll just need to re-import or relink the Figma file. So if you were to duplicate this file, for example, you'd want to rerun the plugin, click on the settings icon, and just click on relink your Figma file. And that'll allow you to relink the URL with the new file URL because it's going to be a different URL. And if you don't do that, it's just going to keep looking at your old Figma file and using the comments from there. So you definitely don't want that. And just in case you get caught out, that's all you need to do. Just click on the relink Figma file and you'll be good to go. So you might have noticed there's another reviews tab up here. I'm going to go through that in a separate tutorial because I think it warrants its own video, but this is basically a way to gather external stakeholder feedback. So by using this feature, you can create a review link, which lets you basically upload these frames to a URL, and you can send this to any stakeholder or client and get comments, text feedback, image feedback on the frames that you select without them needing to have a Figma account. So they can just jump into that URL and open their browser, leave all that feedback for you, and that's all going to get fed back into your Figma plugin, and you'll be able to go through that, check it off, and also automatically make any image and text changes from the customer or from the client or stakeholder. So as I said, I'll go through that in proper detail in another tutorial because it kind of is its own thing. But I just wanted to briefly touch on that in case you were wondering what that reviews panel was for. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you've been wondering how to organize your Figma comments in a more seamless way, this is going to be a really big improvement on the native Figma comments flow if you've been kind of dealing with the carnage and chaos of keeping track of them using the native feature over here. So one other thing I should probably mention is you can also create new Figma comments through the plugin. So if you go to any of your statuses, you just click on the little plus icon and put in a comment title. So I'll say make the logo bigger, and then you just basically want to click on a layer to tag it to and click on what status you want. In this case, it's already pre-filled to doing. And then you can, again, assign it some tasks. So you could say, review, design, and then you just want to leave a comment, which will be the initial message. So please action this as soon as possible. And we can just bold that to make it a little bit more aggressive. Because we really want it done immediately. So I'm just going to click on post new Figma comment. And that's basically created a brand new thread. So before we did a reply to an existing thread. So for example, under the comments tab of any thread, you can reply to comments and keep that thread going. But what we've just done is we've created a brand new Figma thread. So if we click on the little pin here, you can see that it's just dropped it on our frame, and we can see the comment that we just left has been added as well. So that's just a really easy way of adding a brand new Figma thread or brand new Figma comment thread to Figma through the plugin, pre-filling it to a specific category with a comment title and tags kind of already added right out of the gate. So that can be a way to streamline that process instead of leaving the comment directly in Figma. So dropping a new comment in there and then basically waiting for it to load up into the Commentful plugin. This basically just gets around that, so you can just add it directly through the plugin, but that choice is totally up to you. So see how you go there. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll be back soon with more Figma tutorials just like this one. So please stay tuned.